and we are underway. Uncle just saying hi today.
Hi, Uncle. The winner of this tournament and the last two tournaments gets their name in the game. Currently, both winners of the spring and the fall are the same person, Ajneb. And if you fall into the Houlihan room and you read the plaque, you can see his name there.
Yes, because Ajneb has won both times. Ooh, early map check. Vanilla green pendant at Eastern. We have a red pendant at Desert and a non-5/6 crystal at Hera. And we have a bow. Bye, Uncle.
Nice early bow and Vanilla Eastern that we can actually take advantage of it early on.
And we have just a big 20 to start in Uncle's Tunnel. So for anyone that may be new, Link to the Past Randomizer, all items have been randomized in the world, so any item can be anywhere. You are still trying to get the 7 crystals and go beat Ganon, but as we just called out in the map check, there's no guarantee that those 7 crystal dungeons are actually in the Dark World. They could be a mix of the 7 of the 10 dungeons. In Randomizer, if you're not playing the Key Sanity mode, the dungeon items are still in their respective dungeons. So for Hyrule Castle, that's just a map and a small key. So we're going to be on the lookout for those as we traverse through the escape sequence. We got a flute to start an escape.
Well, randomizing items is working out very nicely so far. The flute is going to make early navigation much easier, and they'll be able to activate that when they initially route through Kakariko. That bow is also one of my favorite weapons that you can get on an Uncle. You get a full 30 arrows to go with it, so you have plenty to complete the escape sequence. You have arrows you can farm for bombs, and it's also probably the only weapon, of all the weapons that you can find on Uncle, it's the one that locks out the least.
We have a Moon Pearl in the Boomerang room. And I totally agree with you with the bow in terms of all of those advantages. This we're playing as version 29. Before version 29, if you played standard mode like we are, Uncle would always give you a sword, and so it was guaranteed that you'd have a sword to start. In this mode, they split that out, and so there's either Uncle Assured Sword or randomized swords, which we're playing randomized swords. And so the seed has to give you one of 6 items, sword, flute, or sword, bow, fire rod, cane of Samaria, cane of Brian, hammer, or bombs to actually be able to beat the enemies to get through this sequence.
I think, yeah, I'll add fire rod to that, and absolutely, once you get the weapon, other than the requirement to complete the escape sequence, this pretty much feels like an open mode seed in every other regard. So it's nice that these all these locations in Escape, Link's House, and Sanctuary are going to be locations that you and your opponent are both going to walk through. It kind of evens out a little bit the randomness that we got from the open tournament.
And at this point, both of our runners have picked up Zelda and are going to be farming for a bomb so that they can check the 3 items in the back of Escape. But to your point, Tiru, about having 30 arrows, they're already at... Chrouya's already at 10 and needs to save 1 for the rat that's holding the key in the sewers.
Yeah, I think that's optimistic. Being able to hit that rat on the first try, he'll probably want to save more than 1. You're right. They have been farming for bombs. They're both trying to get at least 1 bomb before the back of Escape, so they can pick up those 3 items there. Unlike some other weapons, there are no arrow drops during in any of these pots. So if they don't find them off enemies, their only option, if they do run out of arrows, is to do a save and continue. fylion picking up 5 arrows and a bomb, and Chrouya picking up arrows.
Alright. Yeah, and the small key had to be in one of the first 4 chests for that door, so we took care of that. Chrouya gets his bomb, So both runners have that taken care of at this point. A question from Mutter86 in chat. What if you get bombs from Uncle and run out before completing escape? If you take a death, they will refill, and the same thing goes with arrows for the bow or magic for either of the canes or the fire rod.
Yeah, there's a couple checkpoints during escape. There's Zelda's cell, and then there's when you progress through the mantelpiece. So depending on where you save and continue or die from, that's where you'll restart, and you'll get a varying amount of magic, arrows, or bombs, depending on which one of those restarts you get. A mirror in escape, that's nice to find.
That will open up Hera. You can flute up to Death Mountain and then use the mirror to get to Tower of Hera, so the only thing there is you'll need at least a sword or a hammer to kill Trolldorm.
Really nice early item to find, though. When it comes to routing, having the mirror makes things much, much easier. There are several mirror-locked locations that tend to be in line with a bunch of other overworld checks. Without having the mirror early, you're going to either miss them or have to do inconvenient backtracks. Beyond that, like Jack said, it opens up areas like Swamp Palace and Tower of Hera.
And real quick, while we were in Escape, Wags NYC gave us a 100-bit donation, so we definitely want to give a shout out to him for that. Thank you very much. Now, a lot of things in the randomizer has been randomized, like the tier tree pulls. They're in different tiers, as well as the bush crabs. So you got about the best you can hope for. You get bombs from bush crabs and 20 bucks from the tree pull.
Yeah, that's very nice. The tier tree pull is going to be pretty easy to pull off again if they need it. Finding a blue tunic there at the lumberjack, that means that we're not going to need to complete Aga simply to get that item, unless they really, really want a mail upgrade, and that's pretty unlikely. We got another bush crab coming up here for more bombs.
Yep. Honestly, unless Aghanim is required for Dark World access, you're not going to be picking up that mail upgrade. We have a bottle with a fairy to start in Lost Woods.
So they're a hammer and powder away from having the Kakariko Dream Route. They're able to activate their bottle. They have, they activate the bottle at Sick Kid, activate their flute, and they have money for the bottle vendor. Everything but the magic bat.
And more bombs from a different tier of tree pull. The way it works is I think if you kill one enemy, it gets to tier 1, and then tier 2 is you kill 4 enemies without taking damage, and then 4 enemies with taking damage. Tier 3 is 4 enemies without taking damage.
Absolutely. In the vanilla game, those prizes do get progressively better. The tier 3 prize is the red rupees. Tier 2 is the blues. In randomizer, though, it can be anything. So tier 1 might be the best prize.
And with that playing of the National Swag Duck Anthem, the pheasant is present.
The duck is amok.
Alright, so far nothing much in Blind's Hut to write home about.
No, those 10 arrows aren't absolutely bad. They still don't have another weapon, so bow is their primary weapon at the moment. I think Vitasia maintains a list of all of the swag duck sayings that chat has ever made. It's pretty impressive.
I have one that I'm maintaining on my phone. I don't know if that's the same one you were referring to, but there have been a couple of ones I've seen already. The gander will meander and the chicken is a kickin'. I have not heard of those. So those are getting added to the list.
Those are nice. Fylion activating his flute, having paid a 99 rupee penalty to the bottle vendor.
1% return on investment.
Well, that's about what my bank gives me these days. Got some nice chicken hut sync going on here.
And just a big 20 in the chicken hut.
And neither runner risking a soft lock by trying to throw a chicken into the wall.
Chad also pointing out we did see the ether in the well. I did miss calling that out earlier. And we got Fire Rod in the tavern.
That is our first useful progression item from Kakariko. Ether is a more a nice to have and a maybe feature progression item, but Fire Rod will have immediate value. If they do head to Eastern, it's going to make that second dark room much easier because it has a torch in it you can light. And it's also a fire source, and you absolutely need fire sources to complete many of the dungeons.
Alright, and at the race game, we have a cape. And it looks like both runners are gonna bypass picking up that cape. And we're gonna see fylion go to the dam, and we're gonna see Chrouya go to desert, and we get the hook shot at the desert ledge.
And the glove in the dam. So we just picked up a ton of valuable knowledge. Knowing where the hook shot is absolutely going to, it's a required item to complete the game without sequence breaking. Finding silvers in the dam as well. It's a loaded dam. But the cape is interesting. They may pick up the cape if they find something on Bumper Ledge, or they might just mirror there when they're doing digging game in the Dark World. Really be interesting to see whether they pick it up before they absolutely need it.
Yeah, and with both runners not picking up the cape, neither runner is going to have a distinct advantage in terms of if they have to go back for it for Bumper Ledge. And realistically, the only place you would need the cape after that would be for Spike Cave, but both runners have the ability to power through it. And we got Fighter Sword and Mini Trolldorm Cave.
They had silver arrows, so they were definitely able to pump out a lot of pure damage, but the sword is a very nice item to pick up this early in the game. I expect we're going to see both players head over to Desert pretty soon. Eastern, rather.
We're going to see fylion heading to Death Mountain, and Chrouya is going to be right on his tail. Phylion's going to rescue the old man. Chrouya's not going to worry about getting the old man and just making his way up to Death Mountain, which, with that fighter sword and with the fire source for the coffee break room, Hera is full clearable at this point.
This actually does make more sense when I think about it. It's a crystal dungeon, and like you said, it's full clearable now. Fylion rescuing the old man, though, that's also going to give him the save and continue point here, which with the flute is a very nice health refill. And we see the flippers on the old man and the mitts in Spectacle Rock Cave. What a seed!
What a seed to start.
Yeah,
this
they are
version 29. The troll is coming at some point.
It's got to be coming, and it's probably going to be the ice rod. That's the typical troll. We already know where the flippers, the hook shot. We know where that is. Hammer might be a troll potentially, but with that glove, they now also have Dark World access. The glove and the mitts and the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, without either the hammer or the hook shot, They won't be able to get over to East Death Mountain in order to check Dark Death Mountain. So at this point, they're going to be restricted still to the west side.
But that's for Chrouya. That's only a very limited delay because he has the mitts now and the flute, so he'll be able to go to Misery Mire and Mirror to pick up that hook shot right away. And once he gets to that hook shot, there's 20 more chests on Light and Dark Death Mountain, plus all of the Dark World access that's now available to them. They have almost everything in Dark World open now.
Alright, so we got the small key to start in Hera. Oh, we got a map check from fylion. I saw a red crystal at Pod. I saw a pendant at Thieves Town, and I missed where the other 5-6 crystal was.
Well, in a lot of seeds with the bow and a Eastern pendant being Eastern Palace being a green pendant, you'd say I'm going to go check that early. Pendant Thieves Town, you'd say, well, I'm going to check that early because it's Thieves Town. But they just have so many better places they can go. This seed is really amazing.
And I checked on the restream, it was Mire was the other 5-6 crystal. So Pod and Mire are 5-6 crystals. Eastern's the green pendant. Desert and Thieves Town are the non-green pendants.
Well, Mire, they will be able to full clear once they pick up the cane and the required entrance medallion. Given that Mire and Turtle Rock are both crystals and you need the cane just to get into Turtle Rock, it's probably not going to be too hard to find the seed.
Alright, so we have 2 items in Hera. I didn't see if the one on the first floor was an item or a dungeon item, but we got the compass there.
So I'm just trying to think ahead a little bit as to what progression items could still be pedestal required, and I'm coming up with the Ice Rod, a Misery Mire or Turtle Rock medallion, and the Cane of Samaria. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah, trying to think myself. Chrouya is into Hera. He poked Trolldorm, so but I was about to say he was gonna face Hyper Trolldorm, but gets trolled anyway.
Yeah, so Hammer can't be on the pedestal because Thieves Town is a pendant, and Boots could be there, but it's not. Wouldn't be a progression item in that case, unless the Ganon's Tower torch was Boots locked.
And Carissa, our tracker, Carissa, our tracker, reminding me it doesn't matter with Fighter Sword, you're facing Hyper Trolldorm. As fylion gets trolled, Chrouya gets a Master Sword for defeating Trolldorm in the first crystal, almost 20 minutes into the race.
That's a very nice decision from both of our runners to head up here, make this play. They got their mitts, they got their second level sword. Death Mountain, even in the limited access that they had, has already paid off.
All right. Phylion's in to attempt Troll Arm again. So we see Chrouya get the hook shot.
Nice execution on that second attempt by Fylion.
All right, Big Glove and Little Love in the Mire Shed. Couldn't see what medallion would need for Ether. Slip there for Mire, but it's Vanilla Ether.
Yep, I just saw that on the Twitch stream as well. So that is confirmed Ether to get into Misery Mire.
And we have a Bloomerang in the Checkerboard Cave. Chrouya not going to bother with Desert, instead going to head to Kakariko, and I imagine this will be a play for either Skullwoods or Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town.
So I missed it due to a temporary stutter there, but I'm going to guess that Chrouya picked up the hook shot when he went over to Desert.
Yes, I did see Chrouya get the hook shot.
Well, he has everything he needs to full clear Skull Woods, another crystal, so this looks like to be his next play, and it's a very good, very efficient approach. Fylion also picking up his hook shot. Little got a few rage flashes there.
Yeah, I imagine Fylion wishes he had that hook shot while he was in Death Mountain.
Well, he shouldn't feel too bad. The gloves were up on Death Mountain, so unless he immediately went to get the hook shot, it would have been a double climb either way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's still can be rage-inducing when you could really use an item and then it's a double dip, even though in reality, to your point, it was a forced double dip no matter what.
Absolutely. When you're in the heat of the moment of a race, you don't really think about, could I have gotten this a minute ago? You just see it sitting out there in plain view, mocking you. And Fylion taking a death there, has a fairy. Either way, it wasn't too far into Mire, so it wouldn't have been that bad.
Which actually I'm a little surprised by doing this early Mire dip without the Cane of Samaria.
This can be a big gamble. Most of the time in Misery Mire, you're going to have to do... Ouch! Death from Chrouya as well there, but also has the same fairy. I'm sorry, I was saying about Mire. A lot of times to find the big key, you're basically going to have to full clear this unless it's really, really early. So he's... there we go, first chest.
Well, there's the God Mire.
So now Fylion will be potentially wasting some extra time searching out those remaining 2 items. Just 2 items here, not an item-dense location compared to so many other places, but the hammer could be in here. It's something that's accessible. If this gamble pays off, that's going to be a nice progression.
Chrouya, on the other hand, is going to head into the back of Skullwoods to take on Mothula.
Not an impossible fight, but definitely on the little bit more difficult side with Green Male. Not too much health and Fighter Sword. Gonna have to pay attention to this fight over here.
He's relighting the torch, just so he gets the maximum amount of time to get through the door.
Oh, Master Sword. So yeah, so that makes it a bit easier. Still a difficult fight, though.
Chrouya is making sure to save magic for the Mothula fight by using the Master Sword to take care of the Gibdo. Gets it done. And here we go into Mothula.
That's a very good idea. He only has 5 shots coming in here, and he's going to want to make everyone count. That spin, though, that's 1/4 of the damage right there.
Yeah, using sword strats and saving the magic until he has to is a wise move for sure.
So far, so good. 2 hits from the spike, but I think he's almost dead. Maybe 1 more sword spin, and then that'll be it.
Alright.
Moth is not being cooperative.
Down to 1 heart.
Ooh!
Oh, and Chrouya takes a death. Press F to pay respects.
Yeah, that's tough for Chrouya. The Moth was just hiding up on the top left side the whole time. Just kept going into the spikes.
Fylion didn't find anything in Mire, and now gonna head into Desert Palace. Now, this is a pendant dungeon, but there are still 2 items here. And we got the big key so far, so unless we see something on the torch, we're not gonna be boots locked.
So Chrouya's execution there was extremely good. He just was not getting good positioning from Mothula.
And we did find a map in the big chest, so we are for certain locked out. That small key will be on the torch, which we need the boots to get it down.
Looks like he might be... Is he going to check checkerboard? Yeah, checkerboard cave. It looked like he was going to just clear the back of desert anyway.
Yeah, he's gonna see that blue meringue in the checkerboard cave.
There we go. Very nice, Mothula. That was a close second attempt as well.
And a compass for his troubles, and crystal number 2.
So I guess Fylion also heading up to Skullwoods. I am surprised that neither of the runners checked the very item-dense Death Mountain area before coming up here. Could potentially get a mail upgrade, some more health, make these fights a little bit easier.
And with just a B-Torp in Skullwoods, that'll be it for the 2 items there. So far, we've been through 3 dungeons, and we really have, well, 4 if you count Hera, and with exception for the Master Sword, we really haven't found much. One thing I forgot to mention while we were in that first Mothula fight was we did get a Twitch Prime sub from Marikaze, so we want to give a shout out to Marikaze for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you very much.
Well, Never mind.
No, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say something, but it was something that was wrong, so I stopped myself.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, Chrouya is checking the, you know, the exterior 3 locations here in Village of Outcasts. Probably the first 4 chests in Thieves Town as well. But there we go, finding a mail upgrade. So that means it's going to be red mail. That's on the Lumberjack Cave at this point. But they, you know, they really need the hammer to make a lot of progression. I was thinking, you know, Swamp House would be a great place to go, but you know, they need a hammer to get in there. You don't want to dive Ice Palace without the hammer if you can avoid it as well.
We also got a Twitch Prime sub from Timed Hit. Thank you very much. Yeah, and to your point, Swamp Palace, you can only really check the second chest, because the first one's guaranteed to be a small key.
Absolutely.
Flippers will get you over to the pod area, but the thing is, those were locked by the were blocked by the flippers, which is with the old man with the lamp. So logically, it's not in play to swim over to pod. And we got a sub train going. Fiery Winter gifted a tier 1 sub to Railbird, so thank you very much for that.
That's a really good point. Sequence breaking to get the flippers. That tells them that the lamp is not going to be in Swamp Palace. It's not going to be in Ice Palace. It's not going to be in any of the Zora domain locations other than Zora himself, because all of those are flipper locked locations. So that does give them a lot of good knowledge about, you know, areas they can potentially avoid. That said, other than, you know, routing knowledge, I do expect both players to, you know, go into any dark room that gets in their way.
All right, Fylion gets the crystal down. We have that sub train is continuing. Jerky7 subscribed with the tier 1 sub for 6 months in a row. Thank you very much. Mudbound Dragon subscribed with a Twitch Prime sub, and Chozo God X subscribes with a tier 1 sub. Yeah, man, we got the sub train going.
So Chrouya doing a digging game here, finds the item on the very first dig. It can be 1 to 30 digs. Very nice to pick that up immediately. I think Phylion's probably maybe regretting not picking up that blue boomerang at the moment here, fighting with those Gibdos.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Chrouya was... It looked like he was debating going back for that $20, but instead, he mirrors here to the race game to go get that cape.
Well, this is one of the things that we suggested earlier they might do to save them a little bit of time picking up the cape. They had the mirror, they knew where the cape was, they knew they'd eventually be doing digging game. So thinking ahead a little bit, it saves them some time.
Absolutely. Fiery Winter also gifted a tier 1 sub to Cyclone GU, so that sub train is still chugging along. And Chrouya is going to get those flippers once he rescues the old man. Again, this is still a sequence break.
Yeah, he'll be happy to find the flippers. This is mostly at this point something that you do to get the save and continue point. With the flute, it's your full health refill. It's the fastest way to get out of the cave and flute away to your next destination. But I expect Chrouya to probably do the full Death Mountain clear while he's up here.
Yeah, especially with that hook shot. As we were saying earlier, you can get to East Side Death Mountain, and you can also use the Titan's Mitts to do Dark Death Mountain, get the Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave. IE Cactar gives a tier 1 sub to... Not really sure how to pronounce that game, but that's 5 gifted subs from IE Cactar, so we're just going to keep that sub train chugging along.
So fylion gives us our look at Bumper Cave Ledge. That's just a small heart container. So picking up the cape there is, for Chrouya, picking up the cape there is going to be nice as an invincibility item that logically will unlock Spike Cave once they get half magic. They have a bottle already, half magic or a bottle. It's, also makes certain fights easier. Ganon if they don't get too many sword upgrades, but they're not going to need it for that Bumper Ledge item.
Yeah, that is still going to be a useful item to get. Ooh, hammer on Graveyard Ledge. That
right there is why having the mirror early makes running much easier. This is one of those one-off locations that if they didn't pick up the mirror till late in the game, they would be very long to come back to. So with that hammer, fylion now has full access to all of the Dark World, and a lot of choices open up. It makes sense to continue on. He's probably going to do Catfish while he's up here. But after this, Palace of Darkness is full clearable. That's a crystal. Swamp Palace is full clearable. Another crystal. He's got a lot of places he can go. He might even be a while before he heads up to Death Mountain.
And so far, we're not seeing much in Death Mountain, at least on the dark side. Ooh, took a fall. All right, let's see what Catfish has for us today. Yep, just a little bit of love, so... Ooh, Kana Samaria Catfish!
Wow, this route absolutely paid off for fylion. Graveyard Ledge and Catfish. Given the fact, those are places that if you're going to route them, you're probably going to route them after Skullwoods, and at this point, Chrouya might not head back there for a while. Picking up another sword upgrade. That's a sequence broken sword, but nice to have nonetheless.
Actually, oh yeah, because we still haven't found the lamp yet. But fylion, for all intents and purposes, is an Ice Rod and a Quake Medallion away from Go Mode. Because Pods, you were saying Pod and Swamp are full clearable. That Cane makes Mire full clearable. And we just, like I said, just need Quake and Ice Rod for Turtle Rock.
Did we find out that Turtle Rock was Quake? Did Chrouya go up there?
Yeah, Chrouya did.
Excellent.
Alright. So we're going to see Hobo from fylion. We got another B-Torp in Paradox Cave.
And the Ice Rod in Paradox Cave as well.
Well, we're just a Quake Medallion away from no mode at this point, where we know where everything is for Go Mode. Runners still have to do everything, so that does mean fylion is going to have to go up to Death Mountain at some point to get the Ice Rod.
Well, I think that Ice Rod location definitely works in fylyon's favor. The Paradox Cave and Dark Death Mountain area, it's so item dense. It's not one that you're going to skip. You're going to check that well before you go to one-off locations later in the game. So he's definitely going to pick up that Ice Rod before heading into Turtle Rock, and that's really all you need it for.
Yep. While we have another moment, let's catch up on our sub train we have. We have Mr. Kerrigan subscribing with a Twitch Prime sub for 2 months in a row. Fiery Winter continuing to gift tier 1 subs, this time to Red Armor. So thank you very much for all the subs, and I believe... Oh, no! Cactuar gifted a tier 1 sub to Captain Duck. So now we're caught up on the sub train. fylyon's going to take Kiki the Extortionist into Pod.
And so without the hammer, Chrouya wasn't able to do Spike Cave. That's the last item up there on Death Mountain that he potentially could have gotten. Ice Rod seems to be the only value that he got from Death Mountain.
What's interesting is we're 40 minutes in, we have a Quake Medallion away from Go Mode, and we still haven't been to Hype Cave.
Well, it looks like Chrouya is heading in the right direction. The cape probably means that he's going to want to, it moves Bumper Cave a little bit up in his, value to-do list. Bumper Cave isn't going to have the value, but at this point, I expect him to continue on at least a Graveyard Ledge, if not all the way to Catfish. He might be tempted to just find that hammer and say that's enough progression.
It'll certainly depend on where he goes from there. Gweg continuing the sub train with a Twitch Prime sub for 2 months in a row. Thank you.
So fylion, even if he picks up Quake, that'll put us in no mode, but he's still going to be checking everything in his way until he makes his way up to Death Mountain and gets that Ice Rod, because he does not know where it is. Alright, so no saving quit from Chrouya. Hopefully he doesn't pull out the mirror, or the flute rather, and he does pull out the flute.
He's going straight to pod. Now Chrouya is going to be, depending on where Quake Medallion is, by way of Chrouya having the Ice Rod now, if he does go up to Catfish and get Cane of Samaria after finishing pod, once he finds Quake, he'll be in actual go mode and can just bypass all of the other chests on the way through the crystal dungeons. fylion will still probably be searching for that Ice Rod and full clearing dungeons where Chrouya instead can just go mode them.
Well, Chrouya still needs to go to Catfish to get the Cane of Samaria. That's his most important item at the moment. Fortunately, that cannot be in Turtle Rock, and Turtle Rock is probably the biggest sidetrack that Chrouya can make at this point. So he's gonna get cane locked, not too far into the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he dips Mire looking for the cane, but with what he has now, he can clear Swamp, Pod, and Ice Palace. Pick up those 3 crystals before he has to even worry about the cane.
Chat bringing up a good point with having to pay off Kiki. Chrouya doesn't even have the money to pay Zora right now, so the chances of him going up there after this may not be all that high if he's considering he can't pay off Zora.
Well, I think if you're Chrouya, you just focus on crystals you can full clear, and that means you go to Swamp next, and then you probably go to Ice Palace after that. You're picking up crystals and you're checking items, so if Quake and the cane are in those dungeons, then you've eliminated 100% of your overworld checks. Makes absolutely, I think, the best sense. And it's going to pick up, it's not going to pick up the cane, but it is going to pick up 3 more crystals.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, right as I say that, fylion makes a fool of me by reminding me that there is a blue rupee room in pod that Chrouya can just get those the rupees he would need for Zora.
Indeed, I have no doubt that by the time Chrouya is ready to head up there, he's going to have probably over 1,000 rupees, but definitely 500. Rupees tend to come in pretty quickly once you don't need them.
Okay, so apparently I was wrong earlier on the name. It's La Cactoire, and gifted another sub to MathGirl718. Thank you.
So both a triple bomb and a small heart piece in the dark maze for fylion. No value there.
And Big Chest just having a blue rupee. So I would certainly expect Swamp Palace and Ice Palace to be on the docket, as both of those are full clearable. And then from there, we'll actually include Mire in that, because Mire is also full clearable. So I would imagine the runners are going to do those 3 crystal dungeons, and then it's just a matter of where along the chain do we find the Quake Medallion. I
absolutely expect fylion to do Mire. Chrouya may or may not dip it, searching for the cane. If he does, you know, that's going to have to be a double dip, like, you know, we saw fylion do the double dip earlier. fylion will probably, you know, he'll probably clear the 4 remaining crystals and then head up the Turtle Rock, picking up the Ice Rod on the way up. So it really comes down to where Quake will be at that point.
And
boots.
What are those? Did fylion miss those?
Yeah, fylion has an extra key, so he hasn't gone into the Harmless Hellway. He's probably going to see if there's an item on Helmasaur. He'll know that there's an item in the Hellway, but he may or may not decide to go all the way back there to get it. It's going to be his loss if he doesn't.
My guess is Phylion's probably gambling that... Wait, you just said... What? I don't need to reiterate what you just said. Sorry, Diru.
Not a problem. So Chrouya making his way through the Dark Maze now, picking up the first of the 2 trash items back here. This is a lot of work for very little payoff. So fylion, sorry.
No, I think we were going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
I was going to say, fylion missing out on those boots there, it's definitely going to cost him in terms of execution time. If he doesn't go back in to get them, it may not actually cost him in terms of progression, though. Right now, all we know is that it's blocking Desert Palace, and unless Quake is in Desert Palace, that's not going to be a required dungeon. And then there's a 1 in 22 chance that it's the torch in Ganon's Tower. But other than that, all it saves is time at this point.
Chrouya have some problems getting through the rest of the Dark Maze. I think he just got it. And fylion not going back in. He is going to miss out on that footwear. And we are going to see from fylion what is in Sahasrah's closet.
Another one of those things that you don't expect to be checking 50 minutes in.
And for the trash that was in there, certainly not worth the time and effort.
Yeah, and I think that most likely this is going to be a bootless seed for fylion. Boots just don't block enough locations to make it probable that Quake is behind one of them. It's absolutely possible. So he's defying my predictions, going to do the full Death Mountain clear first. He will be able to check Spike Cave, a location that Chrouya was not able to do, and he'll also be able to full clear Turtle Rock immediately if he finds... well, he doesn't have Quake, so he would have to find Quake in Spike Cave.
fylion also doesn't have the cape. Unless he was going to brute force it, he doesn't have the health right now to be able to do Spike Cave.
That's a very good point. So most likely he'll just be doing the clear, picking up his Ice Rod, and getting the medallion knowledge, but not being able to progress any further up here than Chrouya did.
But getting that Ice Rod here in Paradox Cave will certainly help. Alright, let's clean up the rest of the sub-train. LeCactoire gifted another sub to Chevron Guy. E-Smoker subscribed with a Twitch Prime sub, and I think that was everything. Yep. So thank you to everyone who subscribed. Your donations help keep this going, keep speed gaming going for us to enjoy all of these tournaments that everyone's putting on for free. So thank you all so much. Alright, but, I mean, so far, right now, fylion may have screwed himself if either the Quake is on desert, is inside desert locked by the torch, or one of the Flanktuary locations, or well, that's all overworld. And then there's, of course, the GT Big Key on the torch. One of those 4 ways, if there's progression, either Quake Medallion or GT Big Key, then fylion is going to be making a terrible mistake. Fiery Winter gave subscribe with a tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. And we are back to even on 3 crystals at this point, but you know, like I was saying, Tiru, I mean, realistically, unless Quake or GT Big Key is in a boots locked location, like, that's kind of what this race is kind of hinging on at this point.
Absolutely. Boots makes a lot of out-of-the-way locations much more tempting to check. I can see, you know, Chrouya checking, you know, Pyramid and Catfish right now simply because he has the speed advantage to route those in. That will get him, if he opts to do so, then that'll get him his cane. fylion is just going to be at a, you know, every minute of this game, he's going to be losing, you know, 20 more seconds, or whatever it ends up being. Well, not 20 seconds out of every minute, but you know what I mean. It adds up.
Yeah, the speed advantage that Chrouya is going to have is going to just kind of chip away at fylion as this race continues.
Yeah, fylion's only advantage right now is the Cane of Samaria. And, you know, he dipped a little bit into Misery Mire, so when he goes back to Mire, he'll be able to go directly to the boss. But those boots, we see it right now, checking Ice Rod Cave. This is one of those locations that a lot of runners, you know, they put off for a little while because it's a little bit of a long walk. Once you get boots, though, it becomes trivial. You're like, oh, I'll just flute over and check Ice Rod Cave. It's really fast.
Which is funny, because we had the flute from Word Go, and still, 52 minutes in, we're finally seeing what's at Ice Rod Cave. But it's just a big 20.
So, 50 rupees on the pyramid. At this point, Chrouya, I can't see any reason he's not going to head up the Catfish, and it looks like he is. So this is going to get him his cane, and he'll be very happy. He'll be able to go into Misery Mire, full clear of that. Swamp and Ice, of course, are full clearable. He'll be very happy with this find.
Looked like fylion missed his exit and instead fluted 7 as opposed to 6. So, gonna head into Mire and finish that off as you predicted earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I know he got the big key early. I don't remember if he went through and did find both of the items. I think he found at least one of them. But this could just be, giving himself some time to think while he clears up the dungeon.
All right, real quick, one more sub to catch up on Young John NC. Subscribe to the Twitch Prime sub, so thank you very much there.
Your audio just died out again.
Thank you, Tiru. I really do not like voice meter banana, but I still need it for compression.
I know. We had these problems last time too. That voice meter is not working out well for you.
At least this time I got it restarted to where it wasn't doing it every 5 minutes.
That was the first time I heard any issues this particular stream.
Yeah. Anyway, Young John NC, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Man, this mic issue.
And so Chrouya picks up his tempered sword, his sequence broken sword upgrade. And I'm guessing fylion did pick up both of the items previously because he headed directly down the Vitreous.
Alright, so here's going to be 2 of those locations that fylion can't check. Both flanktuary locations. Bonk Rocks, Mushroom, so I'll wait until after King's Tomb.
Yeah, Mushroom is, one location leading to just one other location. He does have the option to use that for a fake powder before turning it in. So we may see, some fake powder or some hard resets, come into play there.
All right. Now to the thing I usually say when something like this happens. Yo, dog, I heard you like fetch quests. So I put a fetch quest in your fetch quest so you can fetch quest while you fetch quest. And we're going to get that fetch quest turned in with the mushroom.
So, no save and quit before here, so he's not going to be able to do a fake powder if this doesn't lead him to an item he wants.
He's going to take that heart container.
And more than enough money for Zora and to buy a potion.
Yeah, for those that may not know what that powder glitch is, if you drain your magic, and then activate the Cane of Samaria, and then immediately 1 frame afterwards, you go to the mushroom. All that the game is doing is checking if you have that 5th item, and it triggers powder even though you don't have it.
Absolutely. 2 of our booth-locked locations, though, are now off the table as far as potentially having Quake. Desert, keep in mind, we can still clear Lammolas without the boots, despite the small key up front being desert-locked. So 1 item on Landmo would eliminate 1 more potential Quakes-locked, boots-locked Quake location. Really would be nice to see if Chrouya heads into Desert and gives us that valuable intel. It's always nice to be able to call go mode instead of we think it's go mode.
Alright, so where is fylion going next?
Phylion's going to Swamp Palace.
Has anybody checked Hype Cave yet?
I don't believe so.
We're an hour in and we still haven't seen Hype Cave.
I don't think we saw Hype Cave, Stumpy, or Cave 45, or unless I just completely missed it. I know they did Digging Game. Chrouya did Digging Game. I don't know if fylion did. Chrouya picked up the cape while he was over there.
No, fylion has not been to Digging Game yet.
Well, I would expect a Hype Cave check prior to coming down into the swamp, just in case that has your Quake medallion. Then you can basically go mode from here on out.
Yeah, the flip side of that is there are 6 items here in Swamp Palace. $50 being the first of them. Granted, those 5 you can do in Hype Cave are a much faster check than the 6 in Swamp. But fylion electing to do the dungeon as opposed to Hype Cave.
Well, fylion does have both of the 5-6 crystals now, having cleared Misery Mire. So my guess is that he's expecting that he's going to be heading north after here anyway to do the Pyramid Fairy check, and we'll probably do Hype Cave then as well. Only a minor time loss by doing this first, if that has the progression.
That makes sense. When you explain it that way, I can see why he would choose to do that.
Yeah, you can lose a minute in Swamp, doing things that you don't have to do, but from his point of view, he might be expecting to get a couple items here. Still needs the lamp to close out those sequence breaks, looking for a Quake. So he might just be accepting the fact that I'm going to do a full clear on Swamp. There's so many things that I'm looking for.
Finally, I'm going to go ahead and go right to Argus. We've seen 2 items for certain, so Phylion's hoping that he's going to just finding the Quake Medallion before trying to do left side Swamp.
Either the Quake Medallion or simply all 6 of the dungeon items. Either way, you'll be able to skip left side. But I think he'll need to at least dip back in for the big key chest. Chrouya didn't find his second item with Vitreous, so he is back in the Misery Mire to clear this out. And there's a map in Swamp, so Phylion's definitely going to have to come back in here for at least 1 item.
Yep. Max Plus Supply asking, Fylion skip Pyramid Fairy and Hype Cave to do Swamp House. No, that's not exactly what Tiru is saying. Swamp House is the other 5-6 crystals. So what Tiru was getting at was you do Swamp first, so then you can route Hype Cave and Pyramid Fairy together if you need to.
Well, the trackers, unless I'm misreading it, it looks like Skull Woods was the 5-6 crystal.
Right.
I'm just saying that I think he's, he might, if he wants to head north, it just might be a routing decision type of thing.
That's an error on my part then, because I missed. Yeah. No, wait.
Oh, Pod was the.
Pod and Mire were the 5-6 crystals.
My apologies. It's really, really small. the resolution.
Either way, Fylion has Argus done. And just a 5-arrow upgrade for your troubles. Alright, so Fylion heads back into
Swamp Palace.
Swamp Palace, yes. I don't know why I'm like... Yeah. Anyway, point being, Chrouya is also now into Desert, so now we're going to see the other Boots Lock location that could potentially mess with Fylion because he missed the Boots in Harmless Hellway.
Absolutely. This Desert check is very, very consequential.
Now we know there's a map in the big chest. So it's really, what are the 2... We haven't seen either of the 2 items here in Desert yet.
So chat asking essentially, is Fylion screwed at this point? if Quake is boots locked, then most likely it's going to be very difficult to recover from. If Quake is not boots locked, then he's losing time on execution, but he's not being blocked from progression.
All right, so half magic is the first item in Desert, and the other items on Lamellus.
Okay, so half magic is the item that fylion is unable to get. That's the boots locked one. The Lamellus item is the one that he can get, which is not boots locked. So at this point, the only boots locked item that could stop fylion from completing the game is the Gan's Tower Big Key.
Which is on the torch, which is a 1 in 22 chance. And an hour and 5 minutes in, we are finally going to see what's in this hype cave.
Quake would be very, very hype.
Alright, well, so far, not Quake. Not Quake. Not
Still
Quake.
not Quake.
Not Quake, and not Quake.
That's a 0 hype right there. And Swamp Palace also having not Quake. So fylion heading out of Swamp, Chrouya heading into Swamp, neither of them finding their required item. It looks like fylion is going to give us our Key 45 and Old Stumpy check, and probably, I guess at this point, probably continue on and also give us the graveyard, the blacksmith's chain sequence. That's 4 more items that are in a relatively quick and easy to access sequence.
All right, hype heart container in the South Grove cave. Triple bombs from Stumpy. So pretty much in terms of, we've got these overworld locations we can still do. fylion looks like he's probably heading for Pyramid Ledge and Fat Fairy. There's still the Jeremiah route that you were talking about. We have Ice Palace. No, fylyon's gonna do Hype Cave. We've got the items in Ice Palace. From what I remember, all 4 items that Chrouya checked in the front of Thieves Town were all the dungeon items. So we still have 4 items in Pendant Thieves Town. So, and Eastern Palace. So there's still a lot of places where that one Quake medallion can be.
Yeah, this makes sense for fylion. If he does head north from here and does the 3 pyramid items, then he can approach Village of Outcasts from the northern portal and still efficiently route in the digging game and the Smith's chain. So not really an issue from a routing point of view. That said, Ice Palace might be the better bet. It's a crystal with 3 items, and he's going to have to go in there anyway for the crystal, so getting the 3 items at that point isn't much of a divergence. Might be more appealing than dipping into the pendant dungeons.
I would certainly concur with that statement.
So as far as Desert Palace is concerned, there still is 1 item in there on the boss, and it's a shame that Chrouya didn't finish that, because really, just kind of curious at what it is at this point, but it's not a boots locked location.
All right, let's see the 2 items from the Fat Fairy. Not Quake,
and not Quake.
Alright, so fylion gonna pick up some potions. I have to imagine this is gonna be a play. This is that play on ice you were talking about.
Yeah, picking up potions absolutely feels like an Ice Palace play. He knows that he can't get into Turtle Rock, so ice makes a lot of sense, and we'll find out right away where he floats to. Spike Cave. He's gonna brute force Spike Cave.
No, I think that was a mistake. He missed.
Oh.
He missed his exit again.
Alright, well, brute forcing Spike Cave is another reason you would make a stop to the potion shop, but probably pick up reds instead of blues. Come on, Chrouya, you can hit that guy. Alright, that is a 5th crystal for Chrouya.
Well, pretty much even at this point.
Alright, so yeah, he's going to go in and check the remaining items here. Also a good idea. You probably don't want to risk a gamble at this point, and I expect he'll probably be doing the same checks that fylion did.
Yeah, at this point, this race is basically going to come down to who finds Quake first, and is the Ganon's Tower big key on the torch.
Well, if Quake isn't here in these 3 Ice Palace items, then your choices become a little bit tricky. I think your next step is you go and full clear Thieves Town. You're at least building towards the possibility of Quake being on pedestal at that point and getting 4 items. If it's not in there, you do the Blacksmith's Chain, and if it's not in there, then you're basically looking at pedestal seed, most likely.
Yeah, honestly...
You go to Eastern next, because there's 4 more items in Eastern.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, because it's 3 plus the green pendant. But as I was saying that, the reason why I'm hesitating is we still have not found the lamp. And the flippers, like, this is technical swamp and, yeah.
Ice Palace.
Swamp, Ice Palace, both of them are technically sequence breaks at this point because the old man had the flippers and we still haven't seen the lamp. And there's powder. So honestly, that kind of is, now that I'm actually talking it through, that's probably why I would do Eastern, because chances are either Thieves Town or, well, as I say that, I also realized Eastern was available from the word go, so ignore the talking idiots. I'd probably still do Eastern because it's closer.
Well, I think the odds of the lamp being, in the front of Eastern, definitely are probably higher than some of the other spots, just given what lamp has blocked at this point. And you're right, it's 4 items. It's a dungeon they can full clear, even if it's technically out of logic. I think the Village of Outcasts for fylion is probably the better bet because he still has the 3 exterior locations there. So that's 4 in the dungeon, 3 outside, and with powder now 4 in the Blacksmith's Chain. I think you're going to go to those 11 items.
Yeah. What you're saying, although I do think fylion did Sahasrahla, though.
fylion did. I meant the 11 items in the Village of Outcasts area for fylion. Chrouya has done. He's done the 3 exterior Village of Outcasts checks already. So there's there's 8 items that he could still get in that area. Still good value.
Alright, so Chrouya is gonna go turn in the Fat Fairy, which will be his bunch of nothing.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify because, you know, you pointed out that both Swamp Palace and Ice Palace were sequence broken, and that's 100% true. So what that tells us is that the lamp cannot be in these dungeons, but it has absolutely no impact on where Quake can be. So if they find Quake, then they are perfectly fine never finding that lamp. They've both already completed Misery Mire and Palace of Darkness in the dark. Turtle Rock is the only dark room left, and that is very easy compared to the other ones they've done.
Alright, well here comes the Cold Stare fight. Fylion does have to be careful still being on green mail. As Dr. Bobtastic would say, each puffball does 400 calories and 4 hearts of damage.
Nice positioning, though. Only needed the magic pot in order to get the initial 8 shots to break the ice. Didn't really even need it for the fight itself.
And gets that 6 crystal.
So very similar routes from both the runners. Chrouya making the exact same play. At this point, neither of them are going to, exit. I guess he still has. All right, check the island and now head into ice. So really, it's pendant dungeons and a few overworld locations at this point to check. And they're just looking for Quake. So fortunately for them, both Eastern and Thieves Town are full clearable and each have 4 items respectively, if you include the green pendant. So neither is a bad play. That's very good item density for the time it takes to clear those.
Yeah, we'll have to see where Fylion goes next after this.
For Fylion, Thieves Town still makes the best bet because there's 11 items in that area.
And that is exactly where he heads.
That's what he's doing, yeah. There's going to be 11 really quick checks. If he does the exterior items first and saves the interior 4 Thieves Town ones, that'll definitely save him time if he finds Quake on the outside. And this will also give him a blue mail upgrade too, because Chrouya picked up his mail upgrade right here in the Village of Outcasts.
I actually think it was here in the... I think it was in the brewery. I was about to say chess game. No, I was right. It was chess game. Be sure to give both Chrouya and Fylion a follow on Twitch. They've been putting on quite a show for us, and they certainly deserve both your follows.
Absolutely. Very fun match to watch and commentate, and really close. Fylion is slightly ahead in the number of items checked, but those boots are really giving Chrouya a more efficient, ability to execute.
And to the point earlier about the boots, a lot of while Chrouya has certainly, for like the time that Chrouya has saved by dashing, that fylion has not, doing other checks has kind of kept fylion in the lead for the most part.
Exactly. Those boots let him check King's Tomb. They let him check the Bonks Rocks. He cleared the front of Desert. Those are all things that fylion simply can't do, and they led to nothing. But I think the speed advantage of the boots definitely makes up for that limited number of checks. So I hope we find Quake here in the pegs, because it's always fun when you go mode, then you have to get rid of the frog. There we go. That's Quake. I called it. It always happens when you have the frog. Now fylion has to turn it in just to get rid of it.
I would, if it was Alucard or Vitasia, I'd be yelling witch right now. But either way, 1 hour, 21 minutes, fylion is in go mode.
That actually happens. It's really common. I've seen so many players be in that exact situation. All right, well, that is a definitive, measurable advantage now for fylion, heading up to complete Turtle Rock, his last dungeon in go mode, provided that the Ganon's Tower big key is not boots locked. That is, like I said, that's a quantifiable lead.
And for those that may have just joined us, fylion skipped Harmless Hellway in Pod, which is where the boots were. So that is the only difference right now between Chrouya and fylion.
So Chad asking, and Chad's asked a couple times why did he skip that. He did know that he had an extra key heading into Helmasaur. It looked like he was gambling on the item being at Helmasaur at the time, and when it wasn't, he looks like he just gambled not having to go all the way back there for one item. A gamble that, it may or may not have paid off. It saved him a lot of locations that he didn't have to check. We'll have to wait until Ganon's Tower if we find out if it was a game-losing choice.
But for now, fylion has everything he needs to get to Ganon's Tower. And Chrouya is heading to Village of Outcasts, so you gotta imagine this is the Jeremiah check for him, and we'll probably do hammer pegs as well. For those asking in chat, Peg Cave was where Quake Medallion was.
So Chrouya turning in the Bullfrog here, going to pick up Quake right away, only being a few minutes behind at this point. It's very nice for Chrouya deciding to come here before wasting time in the eastern area. He still had Sasha's Hut and all of Eastern to clear, so this was a less likely option for him because he had cleared the 3 items in the Village of Outcasts already, but absolutely paid off, and he too has to get rid of the frog.
And so that puts Chrouya at go mode at about 1 hour, 23 minutes and like 55 seconds, so almost 3 minutes behind the pace of fylion. And so GT Big Key, notwithstanding if it's on the torch, that's 3 minutes that Chrouya could make up by way of the fact that he has the boots and fylion doesn't.
Yeah, I'll admit, I find it really hard to, subjectively guess how much time you can save by having the boots. I'm not good at gauging that.
Well, we're gonna find out one way or another, because this is essentially, unless GT Big Key is on the torch, this is what this race is coming down to. One of the top runners of Zelda Randomizer, Andy, is saying that Boots saves you 30 minutes. So if he says it, I believe him.
Yeah, Andy's lying. You don't save 30 minutes with Boots unless you're able to hover past a very deeply locked hook shot.
Oh, right. I forgot Andy hovers. That's how you save all that time.
Yeah, I think. I mean, that would be 25% in a 2-hour race. It just doesn't work out that way. It's measurable. It's probably between 2 and 3 minutes, maybe I'd say, based on the time Chrouya got them. Maybe 2 minutes in execution time. Like I said, but he also checked extra locations, so I think it comes close to evening out.
Pay no attention to the commentator blabbing. Well, fylion is going to go ahead and do Mimic Cave.
So it'll be interesting to see what fylion feels that he is looking for at this point. I wouldn't expect that he's dipping here for Boots. He has sufficient sword. He has silvers. I don't think he would feel that he needs the lamp at this point, or that the lamp could even be up here. I'm not sure.
We can certainly ask him when he gets.
I will ask him.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to presume there.
No, I meant we can ask him. Yeah. My guess is maybe an invincibility item. That might help in certain sections. So I'm thinking about this some more after reading chat's comments. You could be looking for Boots there, taking the gamble that you might need them for Ganon's Tower, and of all of the places in the game that's currently accessible to fylion, Mimic Cave would be the longest one to backtrack to. So it could be a safety check in that situation. That makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, fylion is going to have to do Laser Bridge because not having a small key, the one last small key is there. So he is going to have to do that. It'll be interesting to see once he finds a small key if he commits and tries to finish Laser Bridge.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. He didn't even. The reason I asked that is because we saw him not check what the blacksmith was. He skipped out on the blacksmith altogether. So, given that all he had to do at that point was walk in the door, if he was looking for general items, then he would have gone back in and he would have checked, those easy to check locations. Mimic Cave and, Laser Bridge, they are not easy to get back to. So that's why I think this is more of a safety check.
Especially considering he's already burned 2 of his blue potions, in order to do this check in Laser Bridge when the key was in the first chest. Alright, real quick, Nostradamus subscribed as a tier 1 sub, which is 8 months in a row for Nostradamus. Thank you very much. But once fylion gets into Trinex, it's going to be down to business.
And you can have the honors of taking that if you'd like.
I will once we get Trinex down. Very nicely done, remembering to switch over to the fire rod before the fire head goes down. And down goes Trinex for fylion. So with that, that is Fisher Price my first shield and the 7th crystal. So there are 22 locations where that Ganon's Tower big key could possibly be. If you want to play in our guessing game, you need to guess a number between 1 and 22. Where you think that Ganon's Tower big key can be. In order to get on the leaderboard, you either have to be subscribed to one of our Speed Gaming channels or have donated 250 bits. And you may want to get into those quick because we're almost Ganon's Tower. Tiro, what's your guess?
Oh, I'm conflicted. The guess really depends on who you want to win. 3 or not 3. I'm gonna have to abstain. I mean, there's no option other than 3 or not 3, and both choices bias one of the runners.
All right. Ooh, Chrouya took a death. Guesses are closed. Phylion's gonna go right side. So all that time that Chrouya could have saved with the boots, he's now been pushed back a bit. Number 1, heart container. Number 2, map. Did not find a key, so you have to go left side. So here is the check of the race. Is that big key number 3 on the torch?
Mandatory left side check, torch incoming, and just a heart piece.
We are finding that Ganon's Tower big key.
There are very, very few times where I'll say this, because this is absolutely a skill-based game, but that is a lucky outcome.
All right, number 4, small key. Number 5, red shield. Number 6, 10 arrows. Number 7, another small key. All right, number 8. Red meringue. But as I was saying earlier, that death for Chrouya, I think he's having trouble with the maze, not having the torch. I think that's the problem that he's having right now.
Yeah, this can be difficult, or it can be simple. He got through it. If you know the maze, it is just a couple D-pad positions that you need to memorize. I would still recommend to anybody who's doing dark rooms to keep a map open, either printed or on another screen. Maps are absolutely allowed in the tournament and makes dark rooms like that much easier.
All right, chest number 9 was a small key. Chrouya didn't burn a key on the vanilla big key chest, so that's why he had an extra key. Number 10, bombos. 11, 20 bucks. 12, 20 bucks. 13, triple bombs. So that's why Chrouya's not doing Laser Bridge.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Chrouya didn't take the time to at least powder one of those anti-fairies. 3.5 hearts is not too much, depending on, especially considering that he did already have one death and would have to do that that Dark Maze again. Fylion here, we're gonna get this. Oh, down the half heart. Gotta be careful.
Chrouya electing to just use fire rod shots to finish that off. All right, Bob's chest, number 14. Oh! The bomb exploded before he could check Bob's chest. Oh, if that big key is there on Bob's chest.
That will be a very significant time loss.
All right, so this now becomes 14. Never mind!
Well, actually, now that I think about it, he could have just walked out to the big chest room, and you can go south from there, too. I think you can go south, right?
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Or is that a one-way door?
I honestly don't remember, to be perfectly honest. Alright, Nostradamus was the first sub or supporter to guess 14. Congratulations, you have been added to our leaderboard. But to your question, Tiru, I honestly don't know if that is a door or not.
Alright, yeah, and he's... yeah, alright, so you can go to the big chest, and then you can go back down to the maze and get Bob's chest again, Andy. I wouldn't be that big of a detour then if you can go back that way.
Alright. Phylion's into the gauntlet at 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 4 seconds. From here, the randomization is done. There are a couple chests left, but nothing of importance in terms of finishing this race.
So Fylion will be kicking himself when we tell him where the boots were.
And now for some very satisfying Cane of Samaria strats in this floor. No matter how many times the countless times I've watched these randomizer runs, it is still amazing to see you mow down those Wizrobes with that Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, the Wizrobe slaughter rooms are definitely fun. These next, the room before that and that room, a little bit less fun without the boots.
Ooh, Fylion missed the bomb on the conveyor belt there, but gets it.
I think he's burned through all his potions here. Hopefully he'll pick up one of those. No, it doesn't have a net, sorry.
Nice, he's gonna get himself to full health. Now, Fylion did burn 2 blue potions in Turtle Rock, so he'll need to be careful. Oh! gets trolled anyway.
Yeah, Chrouya having a much easier time things, able to bonk across there with the boots, not have to do the bomb jump. So as long as you can get to Aga, worst case scenario, you can always buy more potions afterwards.
But we should reiterate, this is loser leaves town. Loser of this race, you've got 2 chances to get in by way of strength of schedule, but 5 and 2 get you into the tournament. Or into the bracket.
Alright, Chrouya now got his big key and heading up to the Gans Tower.
So Chrouya is going to start the gauntlet as fylion is finishing it and going into Aga 2.
We saw fylion skipping the chests in the mini Moldorm room, the Moldorm 2 chest. I think that further reinforces that he was really looking for boots as a potential safety in those Charter Rock chests. I look forward to asking about it.
Either way, fylion has Aga 2 down, and it is time for Ganon.
Well, Chrouya is going to have a little bit of an easier Ganon fight with the half magic and the cape, but Silvers and Tempered is not too difficult a fight to do, so I don't expect Phylion's going to have any trouble here. More than enough magic before phase 4 with Silvers. I think that's 12 there.
Yep, there he is in the phase 2. Alright. Looks like Phylion's got enough there for phase 3.
Yeah, you can take one or two more hits, and Chrouya's through the gauntlet, finishing up Lammo 2 now.
Ganon, come on, hold still. We've killed you thousands of times before. You can at least hold still so we can get this over with.
Yeah, that's a nice one-cycle Lammo 2 from Chrouya.
Yes, it was. Alright, phase 4. Gets 1 there. Ooh, misses the torch.
Missed the torch, but more importantly, missed that bat.
Yeah, exactly. That's 3. Ooh. Torch went out before he could get that 4th one. Ooh. Gotta be careful. There we go. That's game.
That was a little close. Still had enough magic to light the torches again, but and those bats can very easily knock you off. So GG's to fylion. Get those GG's in the chat, and we'll see him walk across the screen there. He gets an official time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 37 seconds. And GG's fylion. Welcome.
Yes, GG to fylion. Are you there?
Might have stepped away for a second after that intense match.
Certainly. Alright. Chrouya has Trollorn 2 down. And gonna head over to Aga 2. So even with that death in Turtle Rock, I don't know if that would have been enough to get Chrouya back into the race.
It's really hard to say. I mean, you can't enumerate, any list of all the things that could have happened and try to draw a conclusion from it. End result is we're going to look at a 4 or 5 minute difference here.
I mean, a lot happened in that race, and I've opened the restream, and I see Chrouya was dashing in his Moldorm 2 fight. Where were those?
fylion, do you remember that you only got 4 of the 5 items in pod?
Oh my goodness, which one did I... Hang on. No? What?
That piece of footwear was in the Harmless Hellway in pod.
Oh my goodness. Oh no.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate. We all thought that you were just gambling, not going back there. But was that a tracker issue?
That was I have no idea what that was, other than I was just too worried about the dark room coming up, and I was trying to open my dark room map, and I skipped that room. Or I just thought I had a key in it. I probably thought I had a key on it. Oops.
Yeah, we saw you go back in for Helmosaur after mirroring out after the big chest, and you had 2 keys, so it looked like a gamble. Fortunately, we did see all of the boost lock locations on Chrouya's side, and there was nothing of significance there. We have no idea where the lamp is in this particular seed.
Gosh, where could that thing even be? I'm just assuming Pendant Thieves or Pendant Eastern at this point.
Probably. One other question. So, we noticed that you had decided to do Mimic Cave once you were in go mode. Was that still looking for the boots, or was there a reason why you still did Mimic Cave at that point?
Because I was still looking for the boots. That's why I did the whole of Laser Bridge. I should have checked Smith before I fluted away, but I was kind of too panicked at that point to think clearly. But yeah, every other chest I checked, I was trying to find the boots.
Makes sense. So either way, Chrouya has just finished with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 4 seconds. And get those GGs, because Chrouya is joining us in chat.
GGs, Chrouya. Less than a 4 minute difference. Very, very nice.
I think
hey,
it's...
Man, nice
oh, man. I screwed up the blind dark room so much. Could have been closer. Oh,
so,
man.
well, lamps don't exist, hey? Right? They just
Right, yeah.
not a real item.
Did you go into Eastern?
Never touched Eastern. Never touched Thieves.
Yeah, I feel like it's in Eastern, man. Like, something. Oh. Yeah, I figure maybe your route was kind of the same. The beginning was so stupid. So I fluted to the wrong area. I fluted to 6 after getting the flutes and clearing up Kakariko. And then I found the hookshot there. It's like, what an accident.
Yeah, that was a weird hookshot placement. I I went to Meyer as soon as I got the mitts. Because I was like, okay, well, let's see if Meyer's going to have anything. Opened up Meyer, realized I don't have the hookshot. Okay, fine, I'll check Desert. Oh, look, the hookshot.
Oh, I didn't even have a sword at that point. Couldn't check anything of Meyer. I probably went a totally different way.
It's sounding like it, yeah. I mean, I was trying to guess at the end where you would be, and I had no idea how you would have routed it.
Yeah,
it was so open.
It was so open, yeah. I was very late at doing what was it? The blacksmith. That was my go mode item, the Quake.
Yeah,
mine too.
Yeah. Yeah, basically... oh, sorry, go ahead, fylion.
No, go ahead, Jex. You've seen the whole race, you know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm trying to remember it all, to be honest, but from what I remember, like you guys would do different checks, but basically you guys ended up doing the dungeons kind of in the same order. You both went to pod, then both went to, I think it was swamp, then ice, I want to say.
I went swamp first, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
me
yeah,
too.
fylion, you did Mire early, as you just said. So I think you went to Mire and wrapped it up before doing like swamp and pod. But for the most part, you guys along that pod, swamp, ice path were pretty much neck and neck with each other for most of that race.
Yeah, I can see that. This was so weird because, like, I got Ice Rod quite early, all things considered. And it was like, great, I'm one item from Go mode now, I just need Quake. It can be anywhere.
Anywhere,
So
yeah.
Trying to balance my routing with a mix of, like, doing the dungeons that I was going to do anyways with getting high yield spots along the way. But it led to this weirdness, like, I've never done Swamp Palace and then check type cave before. Like, you'd never do those in that order, but it made sense here.
I did go hype just before swamp. Didn't want to risk it for that last item.
And actually, I should have done hype first. I just went straight to swamp because I never crossed my mind that I'd be doing swamp without having done ice.
When I went to the dark world there, I was like, right, I still have to do hype cave.
Yeah, for a while there, other than Quake, the Canis Maria was really the potential item that Chrouya wasn't going to get, and ended up not going too far without it. Ice Rod being Phylion's, and Fylion, you went up to Death Mountain much earlier than I expected. I thought you would clear ice and swamp and pod and everything before you even went up there. Not much up there in the end, just the Ice Rod.
There was not much up there in terms of items, and the Ice Rod could have been anywhere. But as soon as I had done kind of the immediate easy stuff, I went to Death Mountain specifically to find out what I needed for Turtle Rock. Because if it was Ether, that was Go mode. And I did not want to be running around swamp and ice going, am I in Go mode or not? I don't know. Turns out I did that because I didn't have the boots, but that's a separate issue.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. And chat wants me to congratulate you on your 0 bonks, by the way.
Yeah, it takes a special bit of skill to miscount pod entirely and miss the boots there.
It's also been requested that, and I wanted to ask you about this too. How did you feel falling down into ice armors and missing a chest?
There was an expletive, there was another expletive, and there was the realization that of all the chests to miss in GT, that's not the worst, because you just loop back up after doing ice armos. You go up to the big chest room, walk through, bomb jump again, and it's fine. It's not missing rando room, which I've done and completely wrecks you. I still wasn't happy about it, but
where were the boots again?
Harmless Hellway. So that was actually the other thing I was gonna say, Chrouya, was because we had talked about this before you jumped in, that Fylion miscounted and missed the boots in Harmless Hellway, and actually part of what ended up happening was it actually helped you out a bit, Fylion, because Chrouya, knowing, even though it didn't go to desert until after getting the boots, and so did all of the front of desert plus did Flanctuary, where you just couldn't do it because you didn't have them.
Yeah, I mean, there is this weird thing where not having boots, I was running around at the end trying to find Quake and going, right, well, desert's boots locked. So unless I find the boots, I'm not even killing Landmo because we're not going to find anything in logic there. For all I know, boots are up in GT.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Landmo, we saw what the boots lock items were, but we never actually saw what the Landmo item was. so we never will. fylion, moving into 5-2 brackets. Any opponents that you're looking forward to seeing in the first round, or particularly not looking forward to seeing in the first round?
There's 127 other people going to be there. I think all of them, from what I've seen, have demonstrated some impressive stuff. I'm kind of scared of everyone, especially if I execute and make the same mistakes I made today on some stuff. So, I'm going to hope for the person I can beat, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I wish you luck in the bracket stage. Chrouya, joining the majority of us who will become spectators now. It was very, very enjoyable to watch this race. I agree with you. I don't know where the lamp was, and it feels like all these seeds don't have lamps anymore. And that dark room just absolutely trolled you. But it was fun to watch. 7 enjoyable weeks. What are your general thoughts on the tournament? Having finished it up.
So first of all, I wanted to explain the fact that like my last 2 seats, I didn't have to do to a rock. So it's so long time ago since I had like lampless to a rock that I forgot in my mind this was like the easiest dark room, and then I died there. Anyway, yeah, it took me like almost like the entire difference we are. So, but yeah, good luck in the brackets. Too bad it's the 3rd time I didn't make it to the actual brackets, but fearful to see like 127 people that are all like good. Maybe it's time for me to retire.
Well, you're certainly doing better than me, Chrouya, so I would say keep at it.
Nah, don't retire, because when I drew you, I was like, oh, crap, this is going to be a tough matchup.
Well, I'm glad it was actually, like, relatively close, so...
Yeah, me too.
Well, maybe some new, different kind of category, and I'll practice. And I'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely stick with it. This tournament, we had 512 people and a waiting list. I have no doubt that when fall comes around, we're going to have just as intense a tournament then. I recommend anybody watching here who hasn't participated and likes ALTTP to give it a try for themselves. A lot of the competitors this race only had a month or 2 experience heading in, and there's plenty of time for you to join the community and get some practice time in before fall starts. I say GG again to both of our runners, fylion and Chrouya. Links are in Twitch chat to give them both a follow. Well deserved for their 7 weeks of excellent performance. Looking at the schedule here, we have another race starting up 10 minutes ago on Speed Gaming 3. That is a 5-1 race. And then there are more races coming up at 11 o'clock this evening. Those times are EDT. Want to finish up by thanking, of course, our tracker, Carissa, the Speed Gaming Network, for managing this restream, and my co-commentator, Jex Referee. It's been a pleasure again.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly my best commentating job tonight, but it was still a pleasure to co-commentate with you again, Tiro, and hope to... Tiru. See? Not my best night.
I have trouble with Jex Referee. Names are tough, and I butchered Chrouya's name many, many times, and I apologized in advance.
Your pronunciation here is fine, so it's all good. And any pronunciation is fine. I'm to blame for the horrible nickname.
Everybody is very friendly and forgiving, and it's been a pleasure to commentate. That's it for me. Just Referee. Last word goes to you.
Just stay tuned. We got one more. We got races tomorrow, and then the bracket starts first thing Monday morning.
All right. Good night, everybody.
See you later.
Have a great evening.